away from the academy,
Mhm.
would you say that you talked about how stringent it is, how everything is very strict and everything is very organized. Do you feel that you benefited from being in that environment in contrast to going to a regular university? Do you think you still would have learned what you've learned now in a different university?
Yeah, I definitely thrived off the
Oh,
structure for sure. It
mhm.
was nice to have a regimented schedule, something you know to expect every single day, and I'm trying to adapt that kind of mindset to my life as an entrepreneur. You
Yeah,
know, it's being my own boss. I kind of have to tell myself where I'm going, what I'm doing every
yeah,
day, at what time.
yeah.
And it's not always, I didn't think I'd have a challenge with it, but it's always, but like, you know, handling your time is extremely precious. And I think like having that kind of regiment and schedule every single day with the academy was something that definitely helped me.
I remain forever remain.
Hey, they didn't think I would do it, but I did it. Really having it, really winning. Was times that I thought I'd forever be sinning and spending whatever to stand on the business. But God bless the game, did it all but a sin. All the shots they let off, but they ain't hitting. All the shots we let off, they ain't mentioned was hitting. Go ask why he's fighting them limping. Never change, I'm the same as just in me. The only thing changes the paper my vision. Can't forget about the diamonds and chains on my pendant was starving, but now we each stay for a living. If we ever fell out, you was fake or switch sides, don't be standing up. But yet I'm the biggest, ain't changing my click rep to 6 disrespect and get put in that dick.
I won't let 'em change me. I remain.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Basement Club Podcast. If you don't know, I'm your host with the most, Philip Taylor, and the guest that we have coming with us today through the clubhouse, the 2022 Next Gen Analytics and Non-Kinetics Integrated Product Team Member of the Year. He was a member of the 2022 General Edwin W. Rawlins Team of the Year. He is a 2019 United States Air Force Academy grad, former United States Air Force captain, current entrepreneur and business owner, Mr. Zachary Carreon. Sir, how are you doing today?
I'm doing all right. Thanks for having me, Phil.
No problem. I just had a quick question for you. Whenever you hear people, talk about your accomplishments and some of the things that you've done, do you kind of cringe a little bit?
Absolutely.
Why?
Because it's not about me, it's about who I help.
Got it. Got it. But still, with that, even with that, having the personality of it's not about you, it's about who you help. That still feel good a little bit, saying, yeah, I didn't do it for this reason, but still it feels good knowing that yeah, I accomplished something.
Yeah, I mean, it feels good to kind of know that you left a legacy, that what you can do with, the body, mind God gave you is something that isn't insignificant, something that will leave an impact. But yeah, I mean, like, I think that's a lot of what a lot of people are kind of looking for along in the world is that purpose.
Mm.
Like, what am I here for? Am I here to fill a role? Am I here to take up whatever pleasure and resources I can?
I know I spoke earlier about you being an entrepreneur. So growing up for you, did you always have that entrepreneur spirit? Like, where did it come from where you decided that, hey, I want to run my own enterprise, or I want to do my own thing? Where did that come from?
So I really didn't like start to think or take business ownership seriously probably until like after high school or
Mm.
early college. But I grew up watching my dad kind of like manage his own business. He's like a partner and head of sales and marketing for a dental lab in Southern California, where
Mm.
I was born and raised.
Yeah.
So I just kind of like hear him talk about the different problems that he would have with mom and just kind of like eavesdrop on their conversation in the
Right.
car. And I always just thought it was interesting, kind of trying to see what kind of problems he was going through and how he was working through that out. And then I also studied management when I was at the Air Force Academy.
Mm.
So obviously, business and business ownership is going to be a focus with all the academics that you're going to go through. You're going to want to have people who have had that high level business leadership expertise and experience kind of mentor, guide you through the different topics and operations As well as like, I think culture kind of shifted towards a mindset of the grind, so to say, and
Yeah.
I started getting exposed to a lot of online content,
Right.
exploring what it would mean to break away from a traditional 9 to 5 job and corporate culture. That really attracted me, as well as like the freedom, flexibility. My dad, he attended me and my brother's football games
Yeah.
a lot, and not just like attend, but he would usually be um, on the sideline in
Right.
support as like a volunteer,
Mhm.
or even like my junior high, he was a coach as well. So I was looking for that kind of freedom, as well as like um, kind of ability to control my own destiny. But yeah, that's kind of what brought me to business ownership and entrepreneurship.
So I know you said you grew up in Southern California, the OC, Orange County to be exact.
Yes, sir.
Excuse me if I butcher the name of your city. Is it San Juan? Help me out here.
Capistrano.
Capistrano, San Juan Capistrano, which, interesting enough, was the founder. Like, did you guys find the OC, or like, was it like
No, I mean, find the OC. I mean, that's where I was born and raised.
Yeah, yeah,
So, funny enough, I guess to describe how my family kind of got here. So, both my grandparents, they immigrated here through the armed forces.
Mhm.
My dad's dad was in the Navy for 20 years, got to rank of chief.
Mhm.
And then my mom's dad was in the Coast Guard for 30.
Mhm.
He got to chief warrant officer. Um, they both settled down, retired in the Huntington Beach area.
Mhm.
Um, and my mom and dad were high school sweethearts.
Nice.
So they, like, SoCal was definitely in their blood. Like, all of them are still out there, minus my brother and his wife. They're out in Minnesota.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's where we were kind of based out of. I lived in Laguna Hills, Lake Forest, and I call San Juan Capistrano my hometown, because that's where I feel like I really grew my roots and kind of developed some sort of identity. And that's where I went to high school.
So I know for some people, right, even with, kids whose parents were in the military, they sort of don't want them to go down that same military path.
Mhm.
So when you first told your family, hey, I've been looking at the Air Force Academy, I've been looking at, the possibility of joining the Air Force, like, what was the initial conversation after you told them that you was planning on doing those things?
So I think my mom will disagree with me, but I think she played a heavy role in influencing my decision to actually pursue the Air Force Academy. I remember sitting in the car one time. I was like sophomore or junior year, and she's like, "Zach, I think you could do it. I think you could apply for the Air Force Academy and go for it." In my head, I kind of like rolled my eyes and just like, "There's no way. There's no way." And I said, eventually, I was just like, "Screw it, I'll try it." And they were all supportive, being that my grandparents were both in the military.
Mhm.
My parents were both military brats. They they were overjoyed with it. My grandparents are still very supportive that I was in. They were very present at my graduation commissioning ceremony. They
Mhm.
took my first salute.
Mhm.
Um, and then, from there, like when I told them, it was like, it's a pretty rigorous application process, a lot of different appointments that you don't have to make through like a traditional college.
Right.
You have to get approval from or nomination from like a congressman or a
Right.
senator.
Right.
And then there's a very thorough medical exam, as well as like, several different essays and recommendations that you get from teachers. And actually, I on the first time around, I didn't get in, but I received a scholarship through the Falcon Foundation
Yeah.
to pursue basically to go attend like a civilian prep school, where you kind of like boost your application and status, increase your testing scores, your fitness, your overall academic scores. So I got that, went to a small school in San Bernardino area, California, Northwestern Prep. Had a blast. As much as everyone says that it's a grind, it is a grind. It's a great, not always the greatest place to be at, but it's an amazing place to be from. Kind of just like the academy.
Right.
It's only a semester long program. Did well. Got my scores up, and then went to 2 community colleges that were local to my area, and then got into the academy the following year.
So you get to the academy. What was your initial thought once you first stepped on campus, once you first get to cadet drive? What was your initial thought once you got there?
When I was in the car with my family, and as soon as I saw cadets, cadre in berets and their short sleeve blues and white gloves, I got a little squirming. I was like, oh man, I forgot this is what I've signed up for. But when I first toured the academy, I would say that was the spring of 2014. Did the same kind of thing the following year when I was an appointee. It was just impressive. The campus itself is such a sore thumb from the surrounding landscape because it's at the kind of at the base of the Rockies. And you have the giant triangular pointing chapel. It's a silver, glass, steel architecture everywhere, so it sticks out. And yeah, I was just impressed, kind of excited, kind of up for the challenge. Wanted to know what it would look like to me to be a cadet there, and just kind of rise to the challenge, so they say. But yeah, it was definitely a lot of when I first got there. You're going through basic cadet training, beast, and there's a new challenge every single day, and you're trying to work with your work with your flight mates, trying to figure out and react to all the different challenges that your upperclassmen or cadre are trying to lead you through, and just all the yelling, all the push-ups, all those hours in the front leaning rest. But yeah, that was kind of what was going through my head when I first got there.
So you were in Squadron 5, Wolfpack, correct? That
That was my graduating squadron. So that was junior and senior year. My fourth degree and third degree squadrons were Squadron 1, Mighty Mach 1.
So you graduate from the academy. Would you say that you talked about how stringent it is, how everything is very strict and everything's very organized? Do you feel that you benefited from being in that environment in contrast to going to a regular university? Do you think you still would have learned what you've learned now in a different university?
Yeah, I definitely thrived off the structure for sure. It was nice to have a regimented schedule, something to expect every single day, and I'm trying to adapt that kind of mindset to my life as an entrepreneur. It's being my own boss. I kind of have to tell myself where I'm going, what I'm doing every day, at what time. And it's not always. I didn't think I'd have a challenge with it, but it's always. But handling your time is extremely precious, and I think having that kind of regiment and schedule every single day with the academy was something that definitely helped me.
You graduate the academy, you commission, you go active duty. Do you feel that the lessons you learned at the academy prepared you for what you're going to experience once you went active duty Air Force?
At the academy to active duty, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, there was, it can't prepare you for everything.
Right.
But I think like the culture and expectations that the academy had was seamlessly right into it. I think the biggest difference is between academy life and active duty officer life is just like you're like things kind of matter. Like you're expected to lead, and like it's not just like things can be um, subtracted or erased with a stroke of a pen.
Right.
Like especially in an operational career field, your people's lives are in your hands.
Right.
Um, and it's becomes much more of a reality once you put on those butter bars and you can really um, understand the gravity of the situation of what's happening. Because I don't think I told you this, or I don't know if you knew, but I actually I didn't go straight into acquisitions after graduation.
Okay.
So I was after I graduated and commissioned from the academy, I went to pilot training in Oklahoma.
Okay.
And with how that kind of worked out, October and November came around. It was like back to back to back. We had sudden deaths within within my class and at the base, and then within my squadron, another upperclassman that I had from the academy.
Yeah.
And everything just got like super serious, super fast.
Right.
And it was just like, wow, this is real life. I didn't think that like this would happen. These kinds of things would happen that quick. And then, but yeah, like it was a good experience. We got to a point where pilot training just wasn't fit for me.
Yeah.
I reclassed and then reclassed into acquisitions and came to Hanscom in January of 2021.
When we were going through the process of reclassifying, do you feel that the lessons that you learned at the academy regarding resiliency, leadership, did you see those lessons kind of rear its head once you were going through that process? Because how you were talking about that, there were sudden deaths and things got serious real fast. Like what lessons were you able to pull from that helped you transition to the acquisition career field that you were in before you got out?
Yeah, well, I just had to dig deep. There were a lot of like points in my life where it's just like you gotta grind, you gotta do what you gotta do, and honestly, because of like the academy and even like the events leading up to it, like that was just kind of like the mindset, just focus and grind.
Yeah.
And that's really all I can do, and kind of trust God with the outcome, I guess. But I think like there's always like a kind of history and backbone that I can always draw onto.
Yeah.
Like if it really means like spending 12 hours like trying to, as much as I can, trying to study calculus or something like that. That was my life in like the semester before I got to the academy. It's like I got to a point where I realized like, okay, this part of my schooling is not my strong point. I need to dedicate my time and study, otherwise I'm gonna lose my appointment, because I came very, very close. I got humbled super quick, and worked my butt off, just trying to spend every waking moment that I had that I wasn't like in class or eating. I was, practicing all the calculus problems.
Right.
It was the same thing with same thing with like how I was doing pilot training. And even now, doing everything I can to kind of understand the industry marketplace, get out there, meet people, shake their hand, look them in the eye, ensure that I can get their needs met. And yeah, it's just part of the deal.
Right.
Like I at the end of the day, like you just got to get it in.
You get your hands.
Mm-hmm.
What was when you first get here,
Mhm.
and you first get introduced into how things run, the hand skill business, as they say, right?
Mhm.
What was your thought process once you figured out, okay, this is, I guess, the operation here and how they run here?
Okay. How long have you been at Hanscom, really?
I got here July 23.
Okay. So I got here in January of 21. What was going on through the world in January 21?
Got it.
Your COVID.
Yeah.
So you can probably imagine the disparity from going from Oklahoma, like rural Oklahoma,
Yep.
to Massachusetts
Yep.
in the middle of a very snowy winter
Yep.
and COVID. It was night and day. I was so shocked and confused. I got here and I couldn't listen to music in my car for like 2 weeks just because I had to pay attention to the road so much. I forgot like how to merge, and like the roads here aren't exactly user friendly, so to say.
Yeah.
And because it's like all of a sudden you're changing lanes super quick.
Yeah.
You gotta be on it. If you're not used to it, you're gonna pay, and they'll let you know. So yeah, like the weather. I mean, I knew it was gonna be cold and snowy.
Yeah.
Like Colorado, it's cold and snowy
Yeah.
most of the time there. And then yeah, like the COVID environments were just completely different. People approached it very differently. Very much more, mask and social distance conscious.
Right.
And then I think like the saving grace that I had just like adjusting to all the craziness is one of my very good friends, he let me live with him while he was stationed here,
Nice.
actually at MIT getting his doctorate.
Nice. What was the driving factor behind you finally taking that step and saying, you know what, I've served my time, I want to give this entrepreneurship thing a try?
Yeah, so if you told me this is what I was going to be doing like a year and 2 months ago, I would have been mind blown. I was coming around like December of 23, January 24.
Yep.
My time was coming up at Hanscom to wrap up.
Yep.
I had been there at that point almost 3 years. And I was thinking what was next, and I was like, okay, like let's see if I can try and pursue like an MBA through the Air Force at a civilian institution.
Yep.
Come to find out, I was ineligible for it because I was on the VML. So you can't pursue that same opportunity while you're scheduled to like PCS.
Got it.
So as soon as I found that out, I was like, okay, well, let's see what my options are, see if there's anything else I want to pursue the Air Force or outside of the Air Force.
Yeah.
So I went to a Service Academy Career Conference in February of 24 and found out about franchising. So that was actually like the first seminar I went to, and what kind of clicked for me was having all the benefits of entrepreneurship and business ownership, while at the same time working off a playbook or model that has been proven to work.
Right.
That kind of blew my mind. It's like, that's what franchising is. I got to get into this. And it's like, because I'd always envisioned myself as a business owner, and then having the flexibility to try and create my own life, serve the needs of my clients in the ways that I can, ways that I know I can without restriction of government or military bureaucracy.
Right.
And I got hooked up with a franchise broker, and who's worked specifically with veterans.
Yeah.
He guided me through the whole process, and we landed on a company called Supply Point.
So I want to flip the question I asked you earlier. When you told your parents that, hey, I've learned about franchise, and I want to go this route instead of continue my military career, what was their thought process then? Like, what was that conversation like?
Curious, man, excited. They knew that like whatever path I choose, like they were going to be supportive.
Did they, I know you just said they were curious or excited, but did they have any hesitation? Like, hey, this is a big jump, going from security, knowing that every 1st and the 15th you're going to have a check, knowing that you're going to have health insurance and things like that. Was there any type of hesitation that they tried to, say, hey, think about this just for a few more seconds?
Yeah, I mean, like, if they did have any kind of hesitation or warning, they didn't tell me about it. I think like the only person that was really cautious about it was my brother. But yeah, no big like pushbacks from anyone. I was more concerned what my grandparents would think, but they were okay with it. My dad's dad kind of dabbled in some business ownership himself as well, and
Right.
he basically offered up his services like as a dental technician because that's what he did in the Navy.
Thanks.
But yeah, I was glad to have their support.
What was the biggest mental hurdle you had to jump over when you first started everything?
From military to like business ownership?
Yes.
Biggest mental hurdle. I would probably just say like realizing like everything's on me. Especially now because it's like it kind of is just me.
Right.
And all of the different thoughts, attitudes, beliefs finally have an impact, and they can be your greatest liability or they can be your greatest asset. So everything in here like matters far more as a business owner than as someone in a 9-to-5 job, because you suffer the consequences or reap from the benefits of all the stuff that's in your head.
At what point during your process when you were acquiring your franchise and going through the steps to do that, at what point were you like, yeah, like this is it, like I'm doing my calling, this is what I'm called to do? At what point did that epiphany moment happen?
I think I would say when I was just like kind of talking to franchisees in summer of last year, thinking it through and just kind of understanding their perspective and what they were doing. Yeah, that's probably what I would say was the point, just like the validation process to kind of, talk with franchisees how they liked it, their experience was like.
If you were, let's say that you were over some type of curriculum, or you could influence what is taught in the Air Force or the military in general, what specifically about entrepreneurship would you want to make sure that other military members knew, whether it was how to get loans or even how to network? What are some things that you would want to make sure that everybody in the military knew about?
I think like, yeah, that's a good question. I wish I thought more of that beforehand, because like, yeah, there's a lot of like, as I'm kind of going out into the business world, I'm thinking like, how can I pass on my knowledge to the next person who was in my shoes? I would think like the biggest thing that I would kind of want to ensure I pass on is like it all comes down to it all comes down to beliefs.
Yeah.
It sounds super cheesy and everything, but like once you realize like how much like little lies are just implanted into the back of your mind, you didn't realize they were there until something else comes up,
Right.
or you start really reflecting and thinking about, why was I thinking that? Why was I feeling that?
Yeah.
And I think like one of the other biggest things that kind of awakened my desire for business ownership as well as like entrepreneurship and investing as well is just like I read like Rich Dad Poor Dad's book, um, and um, I think when it comes to networking, um, I didn't realize how fun I think it was gonna be.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was just like, wow, I feel I stand on the shoulders of really tall giants. Um, and and like with the Service Academy Career Conference that I went to,
Yep.
it was really cool to see like some people that I hadn't seen in years, and just be like seeing what they're doing, thinking about getting out,
Yeah.
what they had done in the Air Force, what their aspirations were, as well as just like meeting, um, other older service grads to kind of hear their perspective of what they had been like with transitioning out of active duty and seeing their growth and their kind of journey through it all.
I want to end on this. Knowing what you know now,
Mhm.
if you can go back to, if you had an opportunity to talk to 18-year-old Zach Carreon before he started filling out those applications for USAFA,
Mhm.
what would you tell him now?
I would say no matter what anyone else is kind of teaching you or instructing you at the academy, whether it's good or bad, you are the best teacher. Like you have to be the best. You have to be the one who's in charge of your own growth, learning, and education.
Yeah.
And you have to pursue the truth.
Yeah.
I think it's just like, 'cause there's a lot, I feel like, in terms of entrepreneurship and business ownership that like just isn't capitalized enough. And I think it's just like
What do you mean by that, not capitalism?
once I kind of like um learned more about this kind of world, like there's so many different types of ways to like just make money, find assets, and not just pursue higher making jobs at
Right.
each point in your career where you need to make more money.
Right.
I think that was just eye-opening to me, as well as kind of like reinforcing, I guess the why that you have, and like understanding having that moment to really reflect and understand why you're doing things. I think like if was able to speak to 18-year-old Zach, is like really take a look and see whether you really want to do some of these things you want to do, or if you're just afraid not to because it will look bad, or it won't gain as much clout, or you won't have as much hype on your social media timeline.
Right. Sir, it's an honor. I appreciate you for coming over.
Thank you.
Real great conversation.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yes, sir.
Cool.